Welcome back to Telor, my world building project. Today, we'll be going over the planets, star system, and astronomy of Telor's world. For reference, the meta name for Telor's planet is Saga. We begin at the Sun, which I call Luxvertum. However, by the dwarves and most lands of man, it is named Saurian. It is a G-type star, which means it is in the same class as our Sun, and its mass is 0.9 in solar massage, which means it's 90% as massive as our Sun. This means that Luxvertum will also live longer than our Sun, with an estimated lifespan of roughly 13 billion years. That's 3 billion more years than our own Sun's expiry date. It is also 5.2 billion years old, with Saga being around 5.1 billion years old. Luxvertum is cooler than our Sun, at 5,422 Kelvin. This means that any habitable worlds must be closer to Lux than our Sun, which is the reasoning for the planet of Saga orbiting at 0.9 AU, 10% closer than Earth to our Sun. It is also dimmer, with a darker 65% of the Sun's luminosity. These combining factors have resulted in the planet Saga's relatively cooler 14 degrees Celsius average temperature. Moving on to the first planet in our system, Saxomundi. Its name in Latin means rocky world, and that would be a fair assessment. Much like Mercury of our solar system, Saxomundi is a small world rich in minerals. If one were to walk on this world, the sky would be close to pitch black from a lack of atmosphere, and its mass is barely 6% of Earth's, and its gravity is only 40% also. However, Saxomundi is slightly larger than Mercury at 39% of Earth's diameter, at only 4,994.86 kilometers in diameter. Saxomundi is often associated with trickster or underdog gods and spirits due to its fast orbit around Luxvertum and small size. For now, I will skip over Saga, my world itself, as that topic deserves its own video where I will go into greater depth. Orionum is Latin for the golden world, and this is not hyperbole. From Saga, it appears in the sky as a golden mote of light shining in the sky. This golden hue can also be seen in orbit above the planet, as it is the result of silicon-based single-celled plankton floating through the atmosphere. Orionum spins extremely fast, leading to hurricane-force winds battering the planet. Along these winds, the plankton consumed chemicals released from the many volcanoes of Orionum. These chemical reactions result in their golden hue and thus the color of their planet. Orionum is heavily present in the myth of Saga. It is often said to be two parts of a whole, two eyes of a god or great spirit. In Telor, this figure is Tyne, the semi-mythical hero who created Telor by severing his own eyes. One became Orionum and the other became Luxvertum, the sun. He is also the mythical figure with the most variations across cultures for his essential part in their lore. Another orbit out, and we have the Asteroid Belt, which I am imaginatively calling S1 because I doubt my medieval peoples will have a name for the asteroid belts. It was created when the huge gravitational pull of Magnummundus tore early forming planets apart into the belt. After them, we have Magnummundus itself, a larger and more massive gas giant than Jupiter. It is only barely, slightly larger at roughly 14,000 and a bit kilometers in diameter. However, it is 3.5 times larger in mass. This leads to its gravity being triple that of Jupiter and resulting in the S1 and S2 asteroid belts being formed around it. Although the S2 belt is mainly controlled by Venusmundi, another planet. Whilst Magnummundus has a ring system, as all gas giants do, it is invisible to the naked eye, and is not dense enough to have a substantial effect on objects around it. Due to its size and brightness, it is after all the third brightest object in the sky after the moon and Orionum. Magnummundus has incredible mythological and cultural richness. It is often associated with the main gods of many a culture, much like in our own world where Jupiter was associated with the Roman god and the Greek god Zeus, and, would you know it, Jupiter, and is also thought to be the right eye of Fine rather than Orionum in some regions. Magnummundus is known as Esther by the lands of men, which means great mountain, for its apparent size in the sky and an association with a person god as important as Tyne. I'll cover Tyne and his myths in another video as he's quite important. Magnummundus has 48 moons, 9 of which are major moons like our moon. Phrygia is similar to Europa of Jupiter and is an icy world. Alpheon is similar to Charon of the Pluto binary planet system or moon system. It's kind of hard to tell sometimes with all that bloody research. It was victim to a large asteroid impact in its distant past, resulting in the larger ultramarine coloured scar at its equator. Its purplish hue comes from shards of glass when its surface was superheated by the impact, which catches the violet or purple light of Lux Vertum. I know shards of glass reflecting purple light, being the reason for purple colour radiation on the planet, isn't the most scientific, but I'm a world builder, not a scientist, and speculation runs in my blood and is healthy for one's heart and skin. The S2 asteroid belt was formed much like S1, where Venusmundi basically used its gravity and tore apart early forming planets. Now for Venusmundi itself, the world of wind. Venusmundi in Latin means windy world after all. This Saturnian planet is dominated by an impressive visible ring system with a whopping 64 moons, 9 of which are major moons, like our moon. This planet is around the same statistics of Saturn, however, is slightly larger by a few hundred kilometers and with a slightly smaller mass. Overall, Venusmundi isn't as dense as Jupiter or Saturn. Venusmundi surprisingly does not have a lot of myths surrounding it. Its reddish and brown hue comes from the anomia crystals, water droplets, hydrogen and helium in its atmosphere. Venusmundi, like I said, has an expansive 64 moon system, with Frontier and Fell being the largest of them. Frontier is the only moon in the system to retain an atmosphere and even has liquid water on its surface. It is much like Titan, a moon of Jupiter, in characteristics and appearance. Fell is the only geologically active moon in the system, which makes Venusmundi's moons two-time record holders. It has a green tint for unknown reasons and tall mountains and volcanoes across its surface. Both of the moons, both Frontier and Fell, are named after prominent stone giants in myth. However, much like Saturn, Venusmundi has a geometric storm at its north pole. While Saturn has its mysterious hexagon, Venusmundi has a pentagon at the north pole. In terms of myth and lore, Venusmundi is still visible but is dim. This led to any cultures that recognize Venusmundi in their lore being associated with gods of the underworld, knowledge and secrets due to its dim and faraway appearance. Finally, we've reached the last planet of the system. Gravis Mundi is a gas giant smaller than Neptune with a blue tint from the ozone concentrated in its atmosphere. It has a highly inclined orbit and its rings are nearly vertical if you were looking at it from the plane of the solar system. It has only a single major moon and 34 minor moons scattered across its orbit. Not much is known of Gravis Mundi, as it is pretty much completely invisible to the naked eye. This is due to its far orbit, which also makes it extremely cold at around minus 200 degrees Celsius, which is pretty damn cold if you ask me. Pulli is Gravis Mundi's only major moon and is a little bit of like a scaled down version of Pluto. It has large, almost plate-like structures of solid ice with quote, and I say quote, seas of slushy red ices intersecting them. The last major feature in the solar system is the outer Asteroid Belt of the system. This is the Kuiper Belt of Lux Vertum and is dotted with tiny dwarf planets, the main one of which is the small Pluto-like world of Magnummundus. This little object has a highly eccentric orbit, and it also has a seasonal atmosphere, where the atmosphere freezes and cascades to the surface of the planet when it is furthest from its star and reforms into a gas giant again when it approaches the star. Now let's zoom out a little bit. This is a star map of Lux Vertum's stellar neighbourhood, going out 15 light years as of the current date in Saga and Telor. There are 133 stellar mass objects overall, with 73 red dwarf stars, 8 G-type stars, like our own sun or Lux Vertum, a single giant star, and a neutron star. The names of these systems are the names that the Saga peoples will name them when they reach the space stage. They are named after the satellite, which work differently in Saga and this whole universe, that discovered them. And then they are labeled A, B, C, etc. in the order of which were found by that satellite first. So Andor A is the first star that the Andor satellite found, and Andor B is the second. This region of the galaxy has a slightly higher density of stellar objects than the Milky Way, which has led to the sheer quantity of stars and objects around Lux Vertum. Okay, so for the galaxy itself, I'm quite unsure. If anybody has knowledge about this kind of thing, please let me know because I'm kind of stumped. An irregular galaxy, looking like this, or say this, seems like an interesting galaxy for Saga and Telor to be placed in. However, from what I know, these galaxies are formed when other galaxies smash into each other or pull on each other's gravity, causing chaos and merge. I'm unsure of the habitability of a galaxy such as this, and would like some advice around anyone, if anyone has any ideas or information of how such a thing would work. Info like habitability and what the night sky's appearance would be very, very much appreciated. However, if an irregular galaxy is implausible, the galaxy that Telor sits in will be a spiral galaxy modeled after the Whirlpool galaxy, which is 20,000 light years bigger than the Milky Way, Telor star, and the system would sit around 38,750 light years away from the galactic center. For now, I think that I will leave the galactic and extraplanetary side of Telor for now to its own devices. And next episode, we will be covering the planet of Saga itself, and yes, this time I will actually keep to my promises at the end of the episode of what the next episode will be like, unless I really screw up. But I really hope that you enjoyed the video. Thank you so much for all the positive reception that the previous one got. I was blown away by the kindness of some people's words, both in the comments and on other platforms, and really just truly thank you. It means a lot to me because I spend a lot of time on these. World building is probably my favorite thing to do, and I love all this kind of stuff, you know. So thank you for watching the video if you got this far, and I really hope that you enjoyed it as well. So thanks. That'll be all.